Good. Hello. Welcome to Chez
Hi.
Les Fleur podcast. I've got Jacquelyn Craft with me today. And if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. And if you're a returning visitor, we're glad to have you back. This is where we talk to great, fantastic, dynamic women doing some amazing things in business and how they're doing it and where they're doing it and all the great things that make women blossom and grow in our business world and in our communities as well and in our families. So, Jacqueline, you own the Neighbourhood Vintage in Peterborough on Water Street. Tell us about your store.
Yes, so the Neighborhood Vintage has been open for just over a year. We offer vintage clothing for all genders. We aim to offer clothing for all sizes as well. And we specialize in what I refer to as wearable vintage. So our goal is to have pieces in the shop that people can just put on and incorporate into their everyday wardrobe. We do have the absolutely special pieces like a, glitzy 60s gown, of course, as well, but we tend to stock more, jeans, t-shirts, flannels, jackets, things that people are wearing in their everyday life.
So, what led you to fashion? Have you always been like had an interest in fashion, or is that something that's crept up on you?
Yeah, to be honest, I kind of came into vintage and vintage clothing a little bit waywardly, as in I was in a completely different career before I opened the shop. I had been a long-time competitive swimmer in my youth. From there, I went into coaching competitive swimmers and did that for many years. And like for a lot of people, when the pandemic hit, things changed. And my coaching job was no longer, and I found myself at home and bored, along with a lot of other people. And that's when I started looking around, and honestly, out of boredom one day, I decided to photograph my vintage mug collection and put on Instagram, literally just because I was bored and I had nothing else to do. And then when I did that, I kind of had a thought, a little bit of a light bulb, like, would somebody be interested in buying a vintage mug from me? And I had sort of seen like vintage becoming a little bit more popular online, and I decided to try it. I opened up an Instagram account. I kind of at first just put up a lot of vintage housewares that were already something that I kind of owned and treasured and was ready to move on and part with. And when that started selling, it kind of made me feel like, okay, well, maybe this is something that people are interested in and that they would like to buy vintage. So I kind of expanded from housewares into clothing, and my business was called Minty Vintage, and that kind of took off online and progressed into in-person pop-ups with other vintage sellers. And then that sort of brought me to last year, thinking about opening up a physical space, not having to just do all the work of a setup and takedown of a one-day pop-up, but getting to have a permanent physical space where customers could interact with the items, try them on, see them feeling, and I could interact with the customers as well. And that's sort of how I came into vintage, to open up the Neighborhood Vintage. So not exactly what I had sort of gone to school for and what I had been doing previous.
Well, and it's funny the trails that life takes you on. And
Hmm.
you've got a beautiful store. Uh,
Oh, thank you.
what do you see as some of the challenges for small business in downtown locations like yours?
I mean, being downtown, and it would be the same in any city, of course, we're at the mercy of the weather. So we know that on rainy days, people are not going to be out and about walking around downtown. So we are absolutely affected by the weather. Um, in downtown, again, as in many other big cities, where there's a lot of folks that are facing challenging times, and that can lead to just a harder time for people in general. And we certainly see the effects of a lot of the folks that are centrally located in town. And for us, we're always trying to work with other downtown businesses and build community and work with organizations like the DBIA and the city, and work on little projects that can sort of bring vibrancy to downtown that have wider effects on the community. So the challenges that we all face, at the very least, we face them collectively. And that seems to be a really positive way to address some of the challenges that we are coming up against, is thinking of solutions that kind of can involve more of the community.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It's not just Peterborough. I think across the country and across the continent, all cities are
Absolutely.
facing similar problems. And, we can only be creative. That's
Mhm.
the only way we're going to move that forward. You mentioned working with other businesses downtown, and I know that Peterborough has a very vibrant and um, amazing arts community.
Mhm.
Tell us about some of the projects that may involve the arts world.
Yeah, so one of my favorite parts about being in downtown Peterborough is getting to take part in the First Friday Art Crawl. So it takes place in Peterborough. I know it takes place in lots of other cities as well, but essentially it is a free community cultural event where there's lots of participating art studios that are located downtown that are usually closed to the public. And on the first Friday of every month, they open up their doors so the public can tour through, see their work, see their exhibits. And the other cool part of it is that local businesses will also take part, and they'll stay open late and they'll host an artist. So we are quite centrally located for the First Friday Art Crawl. We participate in every single one since opening, and we host a different artist every time. We've had painters, we've had illustrators, we've had sculpture artists, we've even had artists in who were live painting customers who would come in and try on a cool vintage outfit and get their portrait painted. So there's all manner of different types of artists, and this is just a really wonderful community event that is accessible to artists to show their work maybe for the first time, for the public to discover them and their work. And it's a free event for customers, so sort of a third space where people can come and know that they don't necessarily need to spend money, but they can be social, they can see the downtown, and they can take in all the wonderful art.
Yeah, it certainly has. I mean, COVID slowed a lot of things down, but
Mhm.
the resurgence of that event after things began to open up, I think is fabulous. And it's great at night to see so many people walking downtown and strolling more so than walking, like looking, and it's a beautiful event. And I applaud the organizers of it, because I'm sure it can't be easy to get everybody on board and at the same time, and
Mhm.
rowing in the same direction. So
Yeah, it's true.
yeah. Now, you have a little courtyard behind you, and I think you make good use of it. So tell us about some of the things you do there.
Sure. So, part of the reason that I did specifically actually want to set up the shop on Water Street is so that I could be in the Commerce Building with Ashburnham Realty, because in behind my shop and behind several other businesses in the Commerce Building, there is a big courtyard. It's currently used for parking, and that, of course, serves its purpose. But I saw that as an underutilized space in a prime location in downtown. And, like other people, I'm sure have had the idea too that it would be a great spot to host something. Um, so as soon as I got into the space, basically I got to work organizing markets that could be held in the courtyard. And we started out last summer just sort of trying things. So I tried 4 markets, span from June to September. And these markets were about 20 local vendors would be set up at each. And they sort of alternated between an artist and maker focused market and then a vintage focused market. And we had live music at each one, and we had like some snack vendors as well. And they turned out to be super successful. We had great attendance, and I know customers really, really enjoyed them. And again, it was more so about creating a community event for people to come out to, for people to look forward to bring people together, to give the sort of vendors and artists and makers another space that they could, locally get to know their customers and sell their goods and show basically what they have. So they went really well last in the summer there, and because they went really well, we are actually hosting one final one. So final in 2023, we're hosting a holiday market, which is happening on Friday, December 1st, at the same time as the First Friday Art Crawl. So we're putting it on with First Friday PTBO. And it's going to be from 5 to 9 p.m. in the courtyard, in the Commerce Building courtyard. And it's a holiday market featuring over 20 different local vendors with Christmas gift type items for sale. We have not one, but 3 local live musicians playing throughout the market. And then we do also have 3 different snack and drink vendors. So it's sort of probably going to be the kind of biggest and best one so far.
Excellent. Oh, that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much, there's so much downtown.
There is,
There
truly.
really is. And, you just have to see it and make it work. And I think I applaud you. I think that's fabulous. And it gives people, like you say, chance to or sit together, chat together, listen to some music. There's music everywhere, but nothing beats live music. And we've got a great music community in Peterborough as well. So it's nice for them to share what their talents are.
Absolutely.
So what do you think draws people to vintage?
I mean, I think the same, well, it can be different for everybody. I think that the things that I love about vintage are what is bringing people into the shop. People usually love vintage because number one, it's unique. Most of the time, you're not going to find another one just like that one item. Or if you do, maybe there's only 1 or 2 others that you've sort of ever seen. Mostly it's sustainable, so you can feel like you're shopping or you're buying clothing for yourself or others, and you're not feeding into fast fashion. You're not creating a demand for new product to be manufactured. um, Another one would be quality. The quality of vintage is unmatched. Usually when people are shopping vintage, the items are 100%, whether it's 100% cotton or wool or linen or silk, but they're pure fabrics. And that is part of the reason why they've lasted so long. They've, made it 50 years. They're going to make it another 50 because of how high quality not only the fabric is, but the construction. And that anyone could agree. You're not going to argue that you're not going to find that quality today. And if you do, you're going to be paying the price for it in newly manufactured goods. Whereas vintage, it's still at a very accessible price point. You're paying for high quality, good construction, and it's sustainable, and it's easy on the wallet as well. So it's hard not to shop vintage.
Yeah, and you're right. There's so many fun pieces that you could just shop and shop. I think, first of all, I'm a bit older than you are. So the fact that this dress was 20 years old shocked me. But I look at that piece at the Met Gala last year, and they honored, oh, Lagerfeld. And
Yeah.
Nicole Kidman came in the dress that she had filmed the Chanel commercial in, which
Mhm.
I didn't realize was 20 years ago, but I do
Yeah.
remember the Chanel commercial. And she wore that dress, and it was as beautiful 20 years later as it was in that commercial. In fact, I had to go back and watch the commercial again because it really was well filmed.
Mhm.
And you're right, it just lasts and lasts. And
It truly does. Absolutely.
so you talked about competitive swimming. What
Mhm.
skills do you feel you have as a swim coach that you've brought to your business?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, I think part of the reason that I love coaching and I will always love coaching is, um, it's about sort of fostering teamwork and it's about teaching and it's about leading. And I think as a swimmer and as an athlete, you get to be part of something, which is an incredible feeling and an incredible privilege that not everybody is afforded. And that feeling of support about working toward a common goal and working on something together is huge. And once you experience that, it's hard not to look for that elsewhere. And I think that plays into why, I don't just have a shop on a street in a town. I'm part of a community. I'm part of downtown. I'm part of Peterborough. I try to be part of the arts community. I try to be, part of the secondhand community. Like I enjoy being in something with other people. And I think that's critical to having a small business and to having a business downtown is you have to, I think, find ways to embed yourself in the community and work together and support one another. Not because it's the right thing to do, but because you benefit so much from having that support and from having that network. And I think just teamwork is kind of the main thing. It truly makes the dream work. And I think that's one of the things that I enjoyed a lot in coaching that I enjoy trying to put into place here in the shop.
Well, and it's the friends you make.
Absolutely.
Years ago, I sat on an FTD board, and I mean, it was years ago. It was a long time ago, and we're still a lot of us are still friends today. We get together at each other's houses. We celebrate, births and deaths and achievements throughout. And I look back on those years, and I'm thinking I wouldn't know these people if
Absolutely.
I had not been part of that group. And it really it really gives you some glue that holds things together.
It does, honestly, like nobody can operate as an island. Even if you're sole proprietor, even if you are the only employee, even if you are the only, business of your kind on the street or something, you're not an island. You shouldn't strive to be an island. And yeah, I think like you said, friends are such a huge part of it. The community is made up of the people and the people that I've gotten to meet doing this. It's huge. The customers, the friends, the fellow business owners, the just all the different connections. It's not about who they are and what they can do for me. It's about who they are to me. And I would rather have a few lovely people come into the shop every week and not buy a single thing than to have a horrible customer who's buying things but is not is kind of disrupting the vibe, as we would say.
Absolutely. Jacqueline, I really appreciate you taking your time to be with us today. Everybody's busy and you're busy and you got so much going on, and it was really great to hear about it. What I like to do is just fire off some quick answered questions. If you're
Sure.
good for that, I've got 5 questions. I want a
Okay.
quick answer. Okay.
Mhm.
So, chips or nuts?
I'm gonna have to go with chips, I think overall.
It's a hard one though, isn't
It is hard, actually.
it? Facebook or Instagram?
Definitely Instagram. I barely remember how to use Facebook. It's just marketplace to me at this point.
Vintage tee or vintage shirt?
I'm a vintage t-shirt gal.
Jazz or pop?
Definitely pop if I have to. I can't do jazz, especially not the like experimental all over the place. I can't do it.
Sushi or Thai?
Definitely Thai food for the win.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us on Chez Les Fleur podcast. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. If you are a returning guest, we're glad to have you back. Jacqueline's got the Neighbourhood Vintage in downtown Peterborough. So check out her store. It really is fabulous and a lot of fun. Next week's guest is going to be Peggy Shaughnessy, and she does a lot of things. She is one busy woman, everything from restaurateur to consulting, and she has a busy life, and I'm sure you'll enjoy hearing her story. Thank you again for being with us today. I really appreciate it. and we'll see you soon.